Clint Eastwood once proclaimed that his performance in The Outlaw Josey Wales was maybe as good as I can do it. The Dollars trilogy by Sergio Leone launched Eastwood's career, and he became one of the last stars to make his name starring in westerns before the genre faded in popularity. Clint Eastwood's westerns were notable for having a darker, more violent edge than Hollywood's golden age odors, and the star himself signed off on the genre with 1992's acclaimed Unforgiven. Westerns like The Good, The Bad, and The Ugly or Unforgiven tend to soak up all the attention on Eastwood's filmography, though his anti-war epic, The Outlaw Josey Wales, is another classic on that list. Clint both directed and starred in this 1976 adventure, and follows a farmer-turned-gunslinger looking to avenge his family's murder during the Civil War. It has all the action and cool one-liners audiences could want from Clint, but it's also a movie that's surprisingly emotional and warm, as Josey gradually learns to become a human being again through the surrogate family he forms. During an interview with journalist Paul Nelson, Eastwood is asked what he thinks are his best performances. Eastwood responded with, "I think Dirty Harry and Josey Wales would be my two best performances," and quickly added Josey Wales maybe is as good as I can do it. It's rare for Eastwood to comment on his work or offer any best/worst assessment on either his movies or performances. That's what makes his comments to Nelson so interesting, as he not only singles out his turn in The Outlaw Josey Wales, he goes into specifics as to why he feels his performances worked so well. In particular, Clint feels he mapped the character's entire emotional journey, from world-weary cynic to a man who opens himself up to living again, with hardly any dialogue or exposition. For that kind of character, I told a lot about a guy without telling a lot about a guy. Using a minimal amount of exposition, the picture of a man and the changing of a man as he went along, through the experiences with meeting other people, were shown without having to stop into explanatory scenes. Josey Wales is deeply wounded when the movie opens, and appears to be fighting because he's not sure what else to do. It's only when he's forced to go on the run, and encounters the likes of Lone Waddy or Laura Lee, that he begins to see a life beyond killing. Its true Josey isn't all that verbose, but it's an impressive performance because Eastwood is conveying Josey's evolution almost entirely through facial expression or body language. Josey's showdown with Captain Terrell, the man responsible for slaughtering his family, is a great example of Eastwood's nonverbal performance. Following the final shootout, Josey tracks Terrell down and torments the trapped captain by dry-firing his empty revolvers. Finally, Josey kills Terrell by stabbing him with his own sword, and Eastwood's face cycles through several emotions, from relief to shock, and finally acceptance that his quest to avenge his family is finally done. It's worth remembering that Eastwood claimed The Outlaw Josey Wales was his best performance over 40 years ago, so his opinion may have changed in the decades since. He's not an actor who toots his own horn about how great his work is, but it's clear Josey Wales is a character he really invested in. Critics might see Eastwood as an auteur now, but he was never given much credit as either an actor or director when he started out. Clint's famous drawl and squint are always effectively deployed in projects like the Dirty Harry movies, but that has led to a narrow view of his acting prowess. In Bronco Billy, he plays an overgrown dreamer who wants to live out his fantasy of being a cowboy. It's a warm, optimistic performance and much funnier than people might expect. On the opposite end of the spectrum is 2004's $1 Million Baby, where he plays a cranky boxing trainer who becomes a surrogate father to Hilary Swank's promising amateur boxer. Nobody plays a lovable grump quite like Eastwood, but it's a much more complex role than that. Like Josey Wales, $1 Million Baby's Frankie is a cynic who gets rejuvenated thanks to his time with Swank's Maggie, which makes the tragic third act all the harder to bear. Frankie's emotional final scene with Maggie might be some of the best acting Eastwood has ever done, and it features a lot of dialogue instead of playing out on his face. There are plenty of roles Clint wouldn't be suited for, but looking across his body of work, he's a much more versatile performer than he's given credit for. From The Beguiled to Honky Tonk Man or The Bridges of Madison County, he's shown a willingness to break away from his own typecasting, even if he openly embraced his own screen image too, and try out different kinds of roles. The Dollars trilogy offered a thrilling reinvention of the Western, while Unforgiven was a melancholy deconstruction of the myth of the Old West. It's obvious why those Westerns loom large on Eastwood's CV, and while The Outlaw Josie Wales has always been well regarded and was a box office hit, it doesn't get the acclaim that the likes of Unforgiven does. This is despite the fact that Josie Wales is one of Eastwood's best movies, period. Clint Eastwood replaced The Outlaw Josie Wales' original director, Philip Kaufman, after creative disagreements on the set. This later resulted in the DGA passing what's known as the Eastwood Rule, whereby an actor is not allowed to fire a director and then take over the director's chair themselves. It's filled with great performances and dialogue. It's one of Clint's most visually appealing westerns and features some fantastic set pieces. There's Eastwood's performance fronting it too, which only underlines why he became such a screen icon. It's also a great introduction to the genre for people unfamiliar with westerns, as it features all the classic tropes and cliches while offering fresh spins on them. Eastwood is generally allergic to sequels, so while he mulled adapting the Vengeance Trail of Josie Wales' novel, he ultimately moved on to other projects. Instead, famed character actor Michael Parks took over from Eastwood as both director and star of the 1986 sequel, The Return of Josie Wales. This saw the supposedly deceased outlaw come out of retirement to avenge some murdered friends, but the movie itself is a total bust. There's little information on the production itself, but it was clearly shot on a low budget and is lacking the sweep and action of The Outlaw Josie Wales. Parks is never less than charismatic, but the sequel makes it plain that he's no Clint Eastwood either. The sequel arrived in the middle of the great Western dearth of the 1980s and was quickly forgotten. Given how weak it is when compared to the original, perhaps that's for the best.